Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are traveling to the Caribbean at the end of the 18th century to a small colony that produced extraordinary wealth, endured unimaginable cruelty, and became the birthplace of one of the most radical revolutions in human history. This is the story of the Haitian Revolution. It was the only large scale revolt by enslaved people in modern history that succeeded in destroying slavery, defeating a European empire, and creating an independent nation. But this was not simply a local rebellion on a distant island. The revolution shook the Atlantic world. It terrified slave owners, inspired oppressed people, disrupted global trade, weakened Napoleon's imperial plans, and helped change the map of North America. And at its heart was a question that the modern world still struggles to answer. What happens when a society declares that all human beings are born free and equal, while much of its wealth depends on treating millions of people as property? Before Haiti existed, the western part of the island of Hispaniola was a French colony called Saint-Domingue. By the late 1700s, Saint-Domingue was one of the richest colonies on earth. Its plantations produced enormous quantities of sugar, coffee, cotton, and indigo. Ships carried these products across the Atlantic to Europe, where merchants sold them for great profits. The colony enriched plantation owners, shipping companies, bankers, insurers, manufacturers, and the French government itself. To European consumers, sugar was a luxury becoming an everyday habit. But behind every spoonful was a system of extreme violence. The wealth of Saint-Domingue was created by hundreds of thousands of enslaved Africans. They cleared land, cut sugarcane, processed coffee, maintained plantations, and worked under tropical heat from before sunrise until after dark. Punishments were brutal. Families were separated. Disease and exhaustion were common. Many enslaved people died only a few years after arriving. Plantation owners considered it cheaper to purchase new captives than to protect the lives of those already enslaved. This created a deeply unstable society. A small white population ruled over an enslaved majority many times larger than itself. Among the white population, wealthy plantation owners often looked down on poorer whites. There was also a large population of free people of color. Some were educated, some owned land, some even owned plantations and enslaved workers. Yet colonial law still treated them as inferior because of their ancestry. Saint-Domingue was therefore not divided into only masters and slaves. It was a complicated world of wealth, race, legal status, resentment, and fear. Then, in 1789, revolution erupted in France. The French Revolution proclaimed liberty, equality, and the rights of man. These ideas crossed the Atlantic quickly. Every group in Saint-Domingue tried to use the revolution for its own purpose. Wealthy white colonists demanded greater political control over the colony. Poorer whites demanded equality with wealthy whites. Free people of color demanded equal citizenship. But most white colonists agreed on one thing. They did not want revolutionary equality to include the enslaved majority. The contradiction was impossible to hide. France had declared that human beings possessed natural rights, yet its richest colony remained dependent on slavery. As political authority weakened, conflict spread across Saint-Domingue. And then, in August of 1791, the plantation system began to burn. Enslaved workers in the northern part of the colony launched a massive coordinated uprising. They attacked plantations, destroyed sugar mills, burned fields, and killed some of the people who had enslaved and tortured them. To the colonial elite, It seemed like sudden chaos, but the uprising had deep roots. For generations, enslaved people had resisted through escape, sabotage, secret communication, religious gatherings, and the preservation of African traditions. Some had formed independent communities in remote areas. Many had military experience from conflicts in Africa before being captured and transported across the Atlantic. The rebellion was not simply an explosion of anger. It was the beginning of an organized struggle against the entire plantation order. The conflict soon became far more complicated. France was at war with other European powers. Britain and Spain saw the crisis in Saint-Domingue as an opportunity to weaken the French Empire. Different groups inside the colony made temporary alliances with different foreign powers. Rebel leaders negotiated for weapons, territory, recognition, and freedom. This meant the Haitian Revolution was several wars happening at once. It was a slave revolt, a civil war, a racial conflict, a colonial revolution, and an international struggle between empires. Out of this chaos emerged one of the revolution's most remarkable leaders. His name was Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint had been born into slavery but gained his freedom before the uprising. He was intelligent, disciplined, politically flexible, and exceptionally skilled at understanding both people and power. He knew that courage alone would not win the revolution. The rebels needed organized armies. They needed supplies. They needed trade. And they needed to survive the rivalries of European empires. Toussaint changed alliances when circumstances demanded it. At first, he cooperated with Spain, which controlled the eastern side of Hispaniola. But in 1794, revolutionary France abolished slavery throughout its colonies. Toussaint then joined the French Republic and fought against Britain and Spain. France's abolition of slavery was partly inspired by revolutionary ideals, but it was also a response to military reality. The French government understood that it could not keep Saint-Domingue without the support of the formerly enslaved population. In other words, freedom was not simply granted from Paris. It was forced into existence by the people fighting in Saint-Domingue. Over the following years, Toussaint became the colony's dominant leader. His armies drove out foreign forces and defeated political rivals. He tried to rebuild order after years of destruction, but victory created a difficult problem. Slavery had been abolished, yet the economy still depended on plantation exports. Toussaint believed that Saint-Domingue needed sugar and coffee production to recover. Without exports, the colony could not purchase weapons, import essential goods, or maintain a powerful army. So he required many former slaves to continue working on plantations under strict labor rules. This created deep resentment. For many formerly enslaved people, freedom meant controlling their own time, their own land, and their own labor. They had not fought a revolution simply to return to the same fields under different managers. Toussaint was trying to defend freedom using the economic system that slavery had created. That contradiction would trouble Haiti long after independence. In 1801, Toussaint introduced a new constitution. It permanently abolished slavery and made him governor general for life. Saint-Domingue was still officially connected to France, but in reality, Toussaint was building an autonomous state. To Napoleon Bonaparte, this was unacceptable. Napoleon had risen to power in France and dreamed of rebuilding a French empire in the Americas. Saint-Domingue was central to that plan. Its plantations could produce wealth, while the French territory of Louisiana could supply food and raw materials. In 1802, Napoleon sent a massive military expedition under General Charles Leclerc. The official goal was to restore French authority, but many people in Saint-Domingue believed the real goal was to restore slavery. Their fears were justified. Napoleon had already restored slavery in other French colonies. At first, the French expedition made progress. After fierce fighting, several revolutionary commanders accepted temporary agreements. Toussaint also agreed to withdraw from public life. But the French betrayed him. He was arrested, transported across the Atlantic, and imprisoned in a cold fortress in France. There, in 1803, Toussaint Louverture died. He never saw the independent nation his revolution helped create, but his capture did not end the struggle. It convinced many people that France could not be trusted. Black officers who had made peace with the French returned to rebellion. Leaders such as Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henri Christophe concluded that freedom could survive only if French rule was completely destroyed. The war became even more brutal. French forces carried out executions, mass drownings, and campaigns of terror. The revolutionaries answered with equally uncompromising violence. Both sides understood that this was no longer a struggle over colonial administration. It was a fight over whether slavery would return. Napoleon's army faced another deadly enemy. Yellow fever spread rapidly among European troops. Thousands died. General Leclerc himself became ill and died. But disease alone did not defeat France. The revolutionary armies had years of military experience. They knew the terrain. They disrupted supply lines. They avoided battles when necessary and attacked when French forces were weakest. Most importantly, they were fighting with the knowledge that defeat could mean re-enslavement. France was fighting to recover a profitable colony. The revolutionaries were fighting for their lives and the freedom of future generations. In November of 1803, Haitian forces defeated the French at the Battle of Vertières. The remaining French troops withdrew. Napoleon's American dream collapsed. Without Saint-Domingue, Louisiana became far less useful to France. Napoleon sold the enormous Louisiana territory to the United States, dramatically expanding the young American Republic. The connection was not simple, but it was powerful. The actions of formerly enslaved people in the Caribbean helped reshape the future of North America. On January the 1st, 1804, Jean-Jacques Dessalines declared independence. The new country took the name Haiti, derived from an indigenous name for the island. It became the first independent Black republic in the modern world, and the first nation created through a successful revolution against slavery. The achievement was extraordinary, but victory came at a terrible cost. The country had been devastated by more than a decade of war. Plantations and towns were destroyed. Trade had collapsed. Tens of thousands were dead. And the outside world responded with fear. European empires and slaveholding societies worried that Haiti would inspire similar revolts. Many refused to recognize the new nation. The United States, where slavery remained deeply established, delayed diplomatic recognition for decades. France eventually recognized Haitian independence in 1825, but only after forcing Haiti to accept an enormous financial payment. Haiti was required to compensate former French plantation owners for the property they had lost, and that so-called property included enslaved human beings. The result was one of history's cruelest reversals. The descendants of enslaved people were forced to pay the descendants of slave owners for the loss of slavery. The debt weakened Haiti's economy for generations and made true independence far more difficult to achieve. The Haitian Revolution revealed something that the great powers of the Atlantic world found deeply uncomfortable. The American Revolution had spoken of liberty while preserving slavery. The French Revolution had declared universal rights while benefiting from colonial exploitation. But the Haitian Revolution took the language of freedom more seriously than either of them. It insisted that liberty could not be universal in theory and racial in practice. The revolution also showed that oppressed people were not passive victims waiting to be rescued. They could organize, they could negotiate, they could build armies, they could exploit divisions among empires, and they could change the direction of world history. Haiti was not punished because its revolution had failed. It was isolated because its revolution had succeeded. Its existence proved that slavery was not permanent, European armies were not unbeatable, and people considered property could rise, fight, and create a nation of their own. The Haitian Revolution shook the world because it transformed the meaning of freedom. It forced humanity to confront a simple but revolutionary truth. Rights are not universal if they belong only to the powerful. Freedom is not real if it depends on someone else's chains. And history does not change only in royal courts, presidential offices, or imperial capitals. Sometimes history changes in burning fields, mountain camps, crowded ports, and in the determined hearts of people who decide that they would rather risk everything than remain enslaved. Thank you for listening. And until next time, keep exploring the stories that shaped our world.